Hi, so it is full swing fall here in New York. We had many days where it felt like it's supposed to be autumn, but it's summer all of a sudden, which was also lovely, but it is officially turning seasons, and we are in the middle of like a kind of 36-hour rainstorm here. Not necessarily like a thunderstorm, it's not kind of like crazy. I mean, last night we had some pretty high winds, but it's mostly just like consistent rain for 3 days. So I'm like bundled up inside as long as I can this morning. I do have to make quite a inconveniently long trip towards upstate to teach in a university that I'm teaching at this semester. So I will have to leave for that soon and brave the elements. But I thought this would be a good chance to, or a good like kind of mood to talk about fall reading. So I have 16 books that are on my fall reading list. So to be clear, these are not books that I have read that I'm recommending to you that I feel like are good for the fall time. These are books that I haven't read that I would like to read that kind of evoke a certain um, well, let's just talk a little bit about like what I'm looking to read this fall. I just finished um, The Birthday Party by, I will just get it for you and show you. The Birthday Party by Laurent Mauvignier, translated by Danielle Levin-Becker. I'm going to speak about this at some point in depth because I really enjoyed this novel. 500 pages, I think like 499 pages. And this really sort of got me very seduced to read bigger books, more challenging books, challenging styles. This book is written in a very specific way with like almost page-long sentences without a full stop. And yeah, it just kind of like got me very interested in sort of looking at my fall reading as a little bit more of like challenging reading. And I'm sure in the mix of that, I will find myself reading some small books and books that are very kind of flow a little bit easier and just are sort of like pure propulsive pleasure. But I'm also kind of interested in taking the time to kind of like challenge myself with my reading. And why don't we start with the book that I'm currently reading? But firstly, here's my stack of 11 physical books, and then I will show you also digital books. And we're going to do this very fast. We're not going to talk for eons and eons about each book, read all we can, find about them. It's just like a list video. So let's start with the first book that I'm currently reading now. And this is The Morning Star by Karl Ove Knausgaard. I am about 380 pages in. I started this almost a year ago, maybe at this point. I read half of it, and I was very, very, very gripped by it. It is long, but I love my Nordic literature. We are unless you're new here, but if you are, welcome, generally. But if you are watching this channel, you know that I like my Nordic authors. And this is my first Knausgaard. I'm not at all interested in the My Struggle books. Like, I will not read them. But I am very into this book, and so I extend this to the rest of the series. I think it's The Morning Star, the Wolves of Eternity, The Third Realm, and then there's another one, fourth one coming out that I don't remember the name of. Honestly, my fall reading could be none of the books you're about to see and just the series of these books. A morning star appears in the sky, and we're following a big cast of characters and how they're all kind of affected by this like mysterious new star in the sky, and like some strange things start to go awry. And I feel like this book is actually a bit scary, a bit creepy, definitely unsettling. So perfect for October. I want to read The Awakening by Kate Chopin because I have not read this. This is an introduction by Marilyn Robinson, who we're also going to speak about. Yeah, a classic, a small classic. And this was a book that was like banished for decades after its publication because it disturbed the public and critics so deeply. So I definitely am like very curious about that. On the Marilyn Robinson kick, I've had Housekeeping on my bookshelf for so long, and I feel like it's the time. It's about two sisters that are growing up haphazardly and are kind of tossed around between older women that watch them. So like first their grandmother and then their great aunts. And I think it's just like a family tale about like coming of age, the price of loss and survival, and the dangerous and deep undertow of transience. So really looking forward to reading this. And there is absolutely gorgeous cover pages. Stunning. I just got out from the library Marilyn Robinson's Gilead, which is a series as well. I think that's a book that's in the form of a father writing he may be a pastor, and he's writing basically a letter to his son. I believe that's the form of the book, is like this letter. And yeah, I've been wanting to read it for so long, and I have been in multiple environments where like there was a physical copy, and I would start it, and then it wasn't my copy, and I couldn't take it with me. So I got it from the library. It's officially on my Kindle. So maybe after the Morning Star, if I don't want to continue that series immediately, I'll go and read Gilead. Crash by J.G. Ballard. This is a book that I started, got really sucked into, and then just got pulled away from. I'm Curious by J.G. Ballard. This was given to me by my really good friend, Riley, and it has an introduction by Zadie Smith. And it's like a erotic book that deals with violence and like a man who's kind of erotically turned on by like car crashes. It's quite a divisive book, definitely has like a cult following, and is one of the most kind of shocking novels of the 20th century. So I remembered being quite challenged by this book, not because of any of that content necessarily. I didn't find myself like too disturbed to read it, and I quite like this kind of content. But just like really the language, and I felt it quite challenging. So I'm in my challenging fall reading era. So this seems to fit that. Got Arlington Park by Rachel Cusk. This book begins so beautifully with a torrential downpour. All night the rain fell in Arlington Park. So Ahad, my partner, read this, absolutely loved it. I know other people who have read Arlington Park. I think it's Cass on here who's read a lot of Cusk, and she as well really enjoyed Arlington Park, if I'm not mistaken. This is a very, rainy book, and it just is very matched with what we've got going on here in New York and just the season that we're entering. So set over the course of one rainy day in an English suburb. And I just got back from London, so yeah, I feel like I definitely want to read this fall. I know I'm going to absolutely love it. And I've also read, I think, a quarter of this and then fell out of it. Again, obviously I've said that about many books here. It seems you can tell that it's not an uncommon thing for me to start a book, really love it, and still end up not finishing it. Not because I purposefully put it down, just life goes this way, that way, and I get taken away. In the theme of challenging books, and just kind of expanding my reading is to read more NYRB books, the New York Review of Books. I just read The Fawn by Magdazawa, which I absolutely fucking enjoyed the hell out of. And I highly recommend The Fawn if you have not read it. My dog is trying to take the bone right on the books. Take that off the couch. You're not supposed to. You know the rules. So I will speak about, I think, 5 NYRB books that I want to read. That could have been actually just a separate video. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have 2 here. So these are 2 that I have. One that I recently spoke about, Marjorie Kempe by Robert Gluck, introduction by Colm Toibin, and this is about the first autobiography in English by Marjorie Kempe, where she talks about, it's about a 15th century woman who is having a love affair with Jesus. I spoke about this in the last video, like erotic obsession with Jesus. This was given to me by the lovely Ross from Tor Ross, who I spoke so lovingly and extensively about in the last video, and I also spoke about this already, so I'll move on. But this one seems really interesting. And then I had this on my shelf, Living Pictures by Polina Barskova, a game of tableau vivants in which people dress up in costume to bring scenes from history back to life. So that sounds super interesting to me. And Barskova is one of the most admired and controversial figures in a new generation of Russian writers. I've wanted to read a little bit of Russian literature lately. Obviously, when you think about what are big challenging books? The Russians. This one, and A Wild Invention about traumas, past and present, historical, autobiographical. Yeah, so it seems to be like dramatic and kind of theatrical. Yeah, so this seems interesting to me. Then on the Russian thing, we have here a book, an NYRB book called Blue Lard by Vladimir Sorokin. I've not read any Sorokin. Dystopian fever dream about cloning, alternative histories, and world domination. This is what really also interested me. The cloning thing was interesting. Jacob, down. Blue Lard is what's left after the towering masterpieces of Russian literature have been blown to smithereens, the most graphic, shocking, controversial, and celebrated book to be published in Russia since the end of communism. Denounced as an abomination on publication in 1999, a crowd of angry Putin supporters gathered in front of Moscow's Bolshoi Theater to toss shredded copies of this book into an enormous papier-mâché toilet. The book begins in a futuristic laboratory where genetic scientists speak in a dialect of Russian mixed with Chinese, and they work to clone famous Russian writers who are then made to produce texts in the style of their forebearers. But actually, as it's not the texts themselves that are what's coveted, it is like this blue lard that is collected in the small of their backs as they write. And then a sect of devout nationalists break in to steal this blue lard, planning to send it back in time to like an alternate version of the Soviet Union. So I don't know, it just seems very weird, very like full of havoc, and it says it's very visceral and grotesque. So it seems crazy. I wonder if I'll get more than 20 pages into it. And then also on the NYRB, I want to read Swan's Way by Proust. Have not read it. And I think that actually I will really enjoy the In Search of Lost Time by Proust, which is 7 volumes. It has that kind of very specific style to it. And yeah, like a French classic that I haven't read, and a lot of authors that I do enjoy speak about liking Proust, and yeah, he's obviously just such a inspiration for a lot of literature that came after this, so I want to read that. Read My Death by Lisa Tuttle, another NYRB that had made the rounds that seems really, really interesting to me, about a widowed writer beginning to work on a biography of a novelist and artist, and soon discovers bizarre parallels between her life and her subject's life. So a strange novella that is very uncanny, which is totally my thing. I like an uncanny book. So that's that one. The last other kind of very this list seems very well, I can't think of the word. No. It has completely escaped my mind. And then I thought to throw on here a Balzac. So this is The Girl with the Golden Eyes. In this influential novel, regarded as one of Balzac's greatest works, a dissolute aristocrat competes with a shadowy rival for the love of an enigmatic golden-eyed woman. A crazed and annihilating conflict that plays out in the most darkly decadent corners of Parisian society. That sounds fun. Ambitious is the word that I was looking for. I feel like this list is incredibly ambitious. Probably won't read any of these in the end. But actually, I feel like I'm building my fall curriculum. Because it feels like a lot of these books are classics or intellectual in a way that maybe feels to me like scholarly. And this seems very heterosexual, but we're gonna move on to a very not heterosexual book. But I like decadent corners of Parisian society. This is The Faggots and Their Friends Between Revolutions by Larry Mitchell, illustrated by Ned Asta. This is a queer fiction book that is published by Nightboat Books, which is a publisher I really love, really homosexual. It's 1977. The faggots, the women, the fairies, and the queens have each other for love, sex, and inspiration. They have the natural world, music, the body, feelings, crannies of cities in which to be, believe, touch, dance, dream, fuck, and grow. This was the liberation vision of Larry Mitchell from another time, another consciousness. With this new edition of The Faggots and Their Friends, we can remember the collectivity of fun and pleasure and the necessary faith of silly hope as part of our legacy and wish for survival. I feel like silly hope is something that we need to lean into these days that feels very just essential right now, about mutual care and love and play and a commitment to pleasure. So this is definitely gonna be up on my list. And the kind of gorgeous Art Deco-y style drawings, illustrations from Ned Asta are really beautiful inside here. There's a preface by Tourmaline, I don't know who that is, and introduction by Morgan Bisakis. So yeah, this is high on the list. And then I have this book that was given to me by a lovely angel friend named Morgan Whitehead. She makes stunning books and zines, and she sent me this book. So this is Fires by Margaret Yorsener. I've never heard of this book before or this author. Translated by Dory Katz. What is this translated from? Translated from the French. This is short stories, I think, that blend myth. So like Achilles, Antigone, Clytemnestra, and Phaedra are among the mythical figures whose stories Margaret Yourcener's mingles with memories of her own youthful passion. Myth and legend are used as vehicles to amplify and transcend the personal experience of love's exaltation, follies, and blindness. But the present is superimposed on the past. Someone wrote on the back, there is simply no substitute for reading this book, which brings to life not only 9 creatures from our legendary past, but also those destructive fires we keep dampening down in ourselves. So I feel like this is going to be very bodily, very passionate, fiery, and Morgan and I both share a love for Greek myth and Greek goddesses and those stories and those figures. So I can't wait to read this. This is going to be really beautiful. And then I've got 2 books that I already spoke about in the last video. Bread of Angels, Patti Smith's new memoir. This is out the 4th of November by Random House. And yeah, a Patti Smith memoir seems like a perfect thing to read on a rainy day. Great. And then House of Day, House of Night by Olga Tokarczuk, translated by Antonia Lloyd-Jones. This is a Fitzcarraldo, so this the birthday party had me wanting to read more Fitzcarraldo books that I acquired in London. And this is about a woman that settles in a remote Polish village and deals with kind of a lot of like hauntings and like that sort of imaginative kind of folklore-y vibe that Olga Tokarczuk gives. Like a man discovers he shares his body with a bird. Nightmares come from a different planet. It says a quite epic novel of a small place, which I really love that. I love that. I spoke about all of them. That's it. That's my self-made autumn curriculum. So thanks so much for joining. And I'm going to throw this video together before I have to run. So let me know what you're planning on reading. Please give me all manners of fall autumn reading recommendations in the comments below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and you want to get updates from this channel. We talk about books and various other things, but mostly books. Yeah, so that's it. Okay, I just looked at the time and I've really got to like move my ass. So I'll see you in the next video, and also I'll just keep you updated with how I go through these and if I am managing to stick to my list. Okay, bye.